Boom, I'm in the room. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. My name is Lord Heale, and you're here because there's nothing on the telly, and I'm coming to you from the old Heale Manor. Now, today we've got a guest. What we're going to talk about today is, obviously, it's all about taking the stigma out of mental health, mental well-being, and today we're going to cover disability or disabled abuse, why people abuse disabled people, and what effect that can have on them. So without further ado, I'll bring my guest in. Now, here she is. Wynne, welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
You are most welcome. I've been looking forward to this for a few weeks now. So, Wynne, you was born with cerebral palsy.
Yes,
So,
I was.
growing up with cerebral palsy, I mean, that's a challenge on a daily basis in itself. So,
Yeah,
if
it
you can
is.
tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll have the conversation about abuse and mental well-being and all the rest of it. So the platform is yours.
Sure, for those of you who don't know what cerebral palsy is a lack of oxygen injury at birth. I was born with it in 1987, and I was born at 27 weeks, 1 pound, 13 ounces. And for those of you that would like to follow my journey, Tim will have all my information stuck in the show notes on the YouTube channel and on the podcast. So Tim will have all my information stuck in the show notes. And I have my own podcast, CEO Disability, and it talks about disability awareness as if we are the CEOs of all disabilities, and there's only one disability, there's only one us, even though there's millions of disabilities. And today what we're going to talk about is my abuse story, and today also what we're going to talk about is how the pandemic affected the disabled.
Fantastic. I think that's a really good brief on where you've come from and how you've kind of got to where you are. So should we start with the effects of the pandemic? Because I mean the
Yes,
pandemic,
please.
I mean,
Let's
so
do
many of
that.
us were locked down, and the effects that it had on mental well-being. For me, I turned to my good old friend spiced rum, and I got to a stage where I'm thinking this isn't clever, so I cut back on the spiced rum and started a podcast. So that's how I dealt with being locked up. So for somebody with a disability, that must be even worse.
It was because not only could you not go out, but the only people that you were seeing were your age. You couldn't go to doctor's appointments. You couldn't go to you couldn't go out physically, just like everyone else could. So it made people depressed. It made me depressed, and I'll admit that. It made everyone depressed because at the time they were calling it senior pod, and in my pod was my aide, my stepmom, my no, my aide, my stepmom, and me. My stepsister wasn't even there because my stepsister at the time was in Denver, Colorado, which is 4 hours away from me. So it was really interesting living with someone who was itching to go to work. I turned to podcasting. I started my podcasting in 2010, but during the pandemic, I upgraded my podcasting. I was doing podcasting every single day, and I was also trying to, in the midst of me working, I was also trying to keep myself sane and at home. So I turned to the YouTube. I also turned to podcasting, but in the meantime, I was being a podcast show host, like I always did. And those episodes will be coming out soon. They are now lost on my computer, but those episodes will be coming out soon, so you guys could hear what went on in my life during the pandemic. And for those of you that don't know, I'm now sitting in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, and you can see I'm in a wheelchair, and you can also see the coffee cups behind me. It's real life, people. It's real life. And so the reason why I moved to Phoenix, Arizona is because I got an amazing housing opportunity that I couldn't turn down. So within 24 hours, with help, I was buying a condo in Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, I'm nuts to move to a total different state with a COVID vaccine, mind you. One COVID vaccine and an assistant who I barely knew, and I packed up my vehicle, which happens to be a handicapped accessible van, and packed my duffel bag, moved 10 hours away from everything I knew, everything everything I had, yeah, because in 2010 I lost my mom to a brain aneurysm, and in 2019 I lost my dad, and that leads to my next subject, which is emotional and physical abuse of the disabled. In 2019, on June 23rd, 2019, the day after my 33rd birthday, which happened to be June 22nd. So immediately after, the day after my 33rd birthday, my mom's sisters had come into town because after my mom died, in 2010, one of her sisters started emotionally abusing me and left me crying in the bathtub, literally crying in the bathtub, calling me spoiled white trash. And so that was in 2010, as her sister was dying and medically induced coma. And then my dad, smart dad, said to my abuser, "Go away. I don't want anything to do with you, nor do I want Win to have anything to do with you either." So they left my life my mom's family left my life for about 9 years, because it was 2010 when she died. 9 years. So my mom's family left my life, no contact, no nothing. And then after my dad died, they came out of the woodwork, stuff started flying, SHIT started to hit the fan, because my family thought, okay, now that when Dad has passed away, we can come and take over her care. Well, at the time, I had my aide and my stepmom. My stepmom was going to work at a full-time job while trying to manage my care and manage everything else. And my aide was being my assistant, being my cook, being my housekeeper. She went from housekeeper to cook and assistant to me, my personal assistant, and helping me getting dressed every single day. And there were times I didn't even see my stepmom because she was working so much. And so on June 23rd, 2019, my two aunts were all into town, and I thought I agreed to having my birthday celebrated with them because I thought they would go throw me a nice birthday and help me in all this mess of losing my dad and help me with suggestions and help me with help, not hire lawyers and hire help to help me. And so in on June 23rd, that 1 p.m. in the afternoon, my aunt goes, well, maybe it was 3 p.m. My aunt goes, come on, Win, it's time to go get dressed. Me being me being the dumb, follows my aunt downstairs. Now you gotta remember, my aunt was in a grumpy mood to begin with, and she was a heavy alcoholic, and she was just in a grumpy mood, and she did marijuana, cocaine, and everything else uh, all my life, and then on top of it, losing her baby sister. And when I say baby, there's 10 years between them. She's in her 50s. My mom was in the 50s. She was, my mom was in her 50s when she died. The sister was in her 40s. So there's 10 years between them. There's also 10 years between myself and my cousin, her son. So to give you perspective there. And so she was mean that day, treated my stepmom as if she was the help. And she says, come on, Win, it's time to go get dressed. Well, me being the let's follow my family member downstairs, I'm putting this in air quotes for everyone that's listening, and me being my obedient follower family member downstairs, I didn't know what was going to happen. Next, I knew that I needed help getting dressed because at the time I knew that I had cerebral palsy, CP, but I didn't know how it would impact me. And so my aunt immediately closes the door as soon as we get downstairs. And my aides know that I have open door policy. I am my own guardian. I They know this. My bedroom door stays open. Anyone who's in this house can walk in my bedroom, grab the load of laundry, do whatever in my bedroom without my knowledge. Everyone knows this. And so I knew from the second she closed the door that I was getting abused. Now, her first question to me is, how's your home life? And I back myself up further to a bench. I sit on that bench. They close the door. When I say they, my abuser and her her sister added Joseph's fire. Her sister has since apologized to me, and so we're in, I wouldn't say okay contact, we're not great, but we're in okay contact. And so, but her sister kept egging the abuser on, egging the abuser on. And how, you gotta remember, this is my godmother that's now abusing me. So my mom decided within the Catholic Church to make her sister my godmother, giving you another frame of reference. They give your audience another frame of reference there. And in that baptismal creed in the Catholic Church, it says the godparents must help the kids after the parents die. Well, not. It didn't say abuse the child, and so that's a whole other story itself. And so when the questioning was over, I got put in a chair, a lonely office chair, a Herman Miller lonely office chair. I got stripped down naked, and then I got put in my shower against my will. My aunt was so abusive at that time. She said to my she said, we need a razor now to shave wind. And typically, you don't say that, screaming at the top of your lungs. And so her sister goes to the bottom of my stairs and calls my stepsister, who runs up to the master bedroom where my stepmom is and says, Mom, we need a razor now. And my stepmom doesn't know what's going on. She just hands Juliet the razor, thinking, okay, they need a razor. I don't know what's going on, but I'll hand Juliet a razor. And so, and my abuser drags my stepsister Juliet down down two sets of stairs, and then it lands up being that Juliet gets dragged into my bathroom and sees my pubic hair of all things, and then they lay me back on a bed, and by this time my stepmom, and Juliet were in the room. By this time, they've all figured out that I am now being abused by my aunt. And so it's like, oh boy, here we go. And so my aunt said, we must shave Win like a dog. And she said that so matter of factly that we were all shocked. And my aide was shaking in the boots because my family was supporting me financially. And so the aide was being paid. The aide did not touch me. I'll make that clear. Every statement, every time I tell this story publicly, I'll make this clear that the aide did not touch me. And so what happened was I reported my abuser to Adult Protective Services. She now has a record. How that happened is I went to counseling. The counselor said, do you feel safe at home? And I said, yes, but this is what's has happened. She called Adult Protective Services because what the dumb didn't realize is, my abuser didn't realize, is she was abusing a mandatory reporter, and a mandatory reporter is a teacher of any age. And so through my teaching background, I got the course in mandatory reporting. And basically, if you see something weird when a kid comes into class, a young kid comes into class, you say something to child protective services. And so basically, it led to do I call adult protective services on this person, or does my counselor call adult protective services? I decided not to be the boy that cried wolf, because a lot of the disabled could call adult protective services if they know how to use a phone, and I didn't want to make it a boy that cried wolf situation. And so, but my stepmom didn't do anything, my aide didn't do anything. Actually, my aide stood up and did the first witness statement, but that day my stepmom didn't do anything is to get my abuser out of my house. And so, yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So what was the actual outcome?
The
Obviously,
actual outcome is my abuser now has a record, and my abuser has we have no contact. My abuser knows I'm down in Phoenix, Arizona, and no, I did not move because of my abuse. That was part of it. Um, that the abuse was part of me moving, but the abuse wasn't the whole kitchen caboodle of me moving. And I moved for financial reasons, and then the outcome was that my abuser and I have had no contact since 2019. She has a record. I went to Adult Protective Services, did all that, and did a professional interview. The story matched up. Adult Protective Services, apparently, when I was told all this, after the case was closed, Adult Protective Services called both my aunts, which would have been Adult Protective Services and the Aspen Pickens County cops. Aspen, Colorado, Pickens County cops called my aunt. And my abusers said, well, I didn't do anything wrong. And they're like, oh, yes, you did. And yes, you did. According to all three witness statements, it would have been four, but the fourth person left. Oh, yes, you did. And here's your record. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Don't have any contact with Win. And they told me not to do the same. They told me to do the same thing. And God, if she walks through this door right now, I would call the cops and have her arrested and put a restraining order against her, and maybe her sister that I didn't feel the fire, but her sister apologized to me. So, but if my abuser walks through this door right now, I would call the cops and call and get help.
so what effect has that had on your mental well-being?
Um, well, I had to figure out what CP was afterward. I did that one out as I had to figure that one out. I asked a PT and I asked a PT student, what is CP? And they told me. And then I moved, and so I'm in a lot safer position now than I was with my stepmom, my aide, and the abuse. And so I am slowly overcoming that. But the pandemic and the abuse made me depressed.
So how have you actually overcome that now?
By talking about it, and working on my mental health. I am going to a weekly support group for mental health, Codependence Anonymous, and it's a world renowned it's a world renowned support group. We have support groups internationally too. And for those of you who are listening internationally, if you just Google Codependence Anonymous, you'll it will pop up on Google. I know it will. And then I see a counselor twice a month, and that's going to be temporarily changed only because I'm having back surgery. But my family knows I'm having back surgery, and no, they're not coming out to help. I have other people helping me, and my family is saying good luck, and I hope it all works out for you. And they won't leave their home in the Bahamas. They have stated that they're getting older, and so when they have health challenges and they won't leave, can't leave, and don't want to leave.
Okay. So, so what advice would you give to anybody that's having similar issues, where being abused by somebody? What
Get
would your
help,
advice be?
get help, get help, get help, get help. And when I say that, the abuser won't allow you to get help, but as soon as the abuse is done, you either run and call adult protective services, or if they're abusing, if an aide is abusing a kid, you confront that aide. Uh, you confront that aide with child protective services, because 9 times out of 10 the aides can abuse the kids, and anyone could abuse anyone. It can be a family member, it could be a neighbor down the street, it could be a certified aide. Anyone could abuse anyone. So get help and get the counseling. Tell a mandatory reporter, whether it's a priest, whether it's a social worker, whether social workers can do it depending on the case, whether it's a teacher, I don't care what age, whether it's a friend, and they have to call adult protective services or child protective services. And for those parents who have aides in the house with your kids, get them background checks. There's ways to do it. And get some background checks and make sure everything is safe. And then Care.com does a pretty good background check. And then Care.com does have AIDS, but get help. Tell people don't, because a lot of abusees hide it until they
Yeah,
get so depressed they do something stupid. Stupid begins with an S
yeah,
and ends with a side. And so the stupidity I'm talking about begins with a
yeah,
capital S and ends with a side. And because I don't want this video to be taken down, I'm saying the words fill in the blank, people. But
yeah. I
fill
mean,
in the blank.
we cover that on the show a lot.
Oh,
We
yeah.
from a
So,
veteran's point of view.
okay, veterans have it. Veterans have the capital S. Because of what they've seen. And so people being stupid will get depressed because they don't have help, and
Yeah,
then it all goes downhill. So I am saying get help, get help, get help, get help to the best of your abilities. You can even type out on an assistive communication device, help, I am being abused, and someone should know that if they have common sense.
yeah,
Or if you type out help, I need help, I need to call 911. Someone should figure out, if they know you well enough, how to help you. But I'm saying get help.
Absolutely.
And come out and talk about it.
Yeah. And that's the
Come
way
out
through
and
it
talk about it publicly. Come out
is
and talk about it
yeah.
to a counselor.
It does help to talk about these things, to get it out in the open and get it dealt with. And
Yeah,
and the sooner you can do it, the better it is for everybody.
yeah,
Well, Win, I think that's been a fascinating story, and thank you for sharing that. I think it's one of those important things that tends to be ignored, goes under the radar, for not just for people with disabilities, but for anybody that's in needing some care.
yes,
And I thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
exactly. And the one other thing I wanted to say before we exit completely is I know the elderly adults who may be watching their sons or daughters may be watching this. Ask, be hawks, be eagles and the hawks in those nursing homes, because elderly abuse happens. And so if they say, oh, everything's fine, I want your families to dig deeper. Dig deeper, dig deeper, dig deeper, because you see it on the news all the time.
Yeah,
And there's a public line in nursing homes and rehab, and that the public can call. And I know people have called on my dad because of his lack of care. He was in the rehab center due to he had cancer and then died 6 days later after the diagnosis. That was a whole other story in itself. And so publicly, people can call the states wherever they are, or people can call internationally if
yeah,
you're in England and you suspect that your mother or father or son or daughter, who's ever in rehab, is something's fishy going on. And we're not talking about fish and chips
yeah,
either. We're something's fishy going on in that environment. Call, report, ask the questions. And I don't
absolutely.
care if people are looking at you nuts. I don't
Yeah,
care.
it's better to get it reported, and if nothing's wrong, nothing's hurt. But
Yeah,
if you don't report it and it gets out of hand,
yeah.
then anything can happen.
Because you see it on the news all the time. You
Yep.
see it on the news all the time. Elderly abuse happens. Oh, Susie Q fell, and oh, we didn't do anything. She fell on her own. If
Mm,
you think, as the guarantee, as a guardian who moves
yeah.
their parent into assisted living, something fishy is going on, ask questions, dig deeper.
If you suspect something, report it,
Yep,
and that's the best advice that we can give.
yep.
Well, Win, thank you so much for your time. That's been
Thank you.
fascinating.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there you go. That's some real sound advice. If you suspect that somebody you love or yourself that's in care is being abused, the best thing you can do is report it. Get it out in the open. Get somebody in to check it out. So until next time, thank you again, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.